Welcome back. Let me give you the truth you won't hear anywhere else. Women don't fall for men who try too hard. They don't lose sleep over the man sending paragraphs, begging for attention, or chasing validation. They fall for the man who doesn't need to try, because his presence already says more than his words ever could. They fall for the man whose silence speaks louder than another man's noise, whose calm steadiness bends the air around him, whose discipline and mystery pull her in before she even knows why she's leaning closer. Attraction is not built on tricks, pickup lines, or empty promises. It's built on psychology, restraint, tension, and masculine self-control. Today, we're breaking down the 8 quiet but powerful ways to make her crave you, not because you chased her, but because you became the man who made her chase you. Subscribe now, lean in, and let's begin. Women feel you before they hear you. She notices you before you've spoken a single word. It's in the way you walk into the room, in the way your eyes move without rushing, in the way you carry yourself like you belong, without needing anyone to confirm it. You're not scrambling for approval, you're not flashing or flexing. You're grounded, calm, still, and that stillness does something words never can. It bends the air. She softens before you've said a thing. Her voice lowers, her body leans in, not because of what you said, but because of how you are. That is presence, and presence is power. We live in a world where men have been taught to perform, louder, funnier, flashier, but performance is just noise when it comes from emptiness. She feels the static in your energy when you're scanning the room for validation. You can smile, you can crack jokes, you can flex, but underneath it all your signal is weak. I am not enough unless you tell me I am. That energy kills attraction before it even starts. The truth is, women are not drawn to the loudest man. They are drawn to the man who doesn't flinch, the man who doesn't need to force a laugh, the man who doesn't need to rush into every silence with words just to prove he belongs. A man whose inner world is calm, whose worth doesn't float in the opinions of others. That man becomes rare. Rare is valuable, rare is magnetic, rare is unforgettable, and here's the paradox. Your power isn't in what you say. It's in what you choose not to say. It's in the pause between her words and your reply. It's in the way you listen instead of forcing your story over hers. It's in your stillness, the kind of stillness that signals, I am not moved by the storm. I am the rock the storm crashes against. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Presence doesn't come from chasing status, or from wealth or charisma. It comes from mastering your inner state. And when mastery shows itself in your movements, in your gaze, in your breath, it changes everything. Suddenly you're no longer the man reaching out. You're the man pulling everything in. So when you walk into the room, don't reach. Don't chase, don't perform, breathe, be rooted. Own your space with quiet steadiness. When she looks at you, meet her eyes, not to impress but to see. Let her feel the weight of your calm. Because a man who doesn't seek validation becomes the one they all want to validate. That's why chasing kills attraction. Because when you chase, you tell her, I need you to fill me. And when you stop chasing, when you lead with self-respect, everything shifts. The man who no longer runs after attention becomes the man who receives it without asking. The man who doesn't rush to be chosen becomes the one she can't stop choosing. There is something magnetic about a man who is not in a hurry. He doesn't text again and again to remind her he exists. He doesn't fill silence with nervous words. He doesn't orbit her life like a moon. He moves like a sun, steady, burning, drawing everything toward him, and that gravity is irresistible. Most men believe effort equals value in relationships. They think the more they push, the more they will be loved. But chasing doesn't build desire, it buries it. Desire dies under the weight of desperation. Women don't analyze this logically, they feel it. A man who over-explains, who over-texts, who overperforms radiates lack. Lack of focus, lack of self-worth, lack of emotional freedom, and deep down she pulls away. The scarcity principle explains it. When something is rare, we assign it greater value. When a man doesn't flood her with attention, when his life speaks louder than his words, when he is scarce, not from games but from purpose, he becomes unforgettable. Picture two realities. In one, you text her every morning. You ask how she slept. You apologize for silence. You explain your every move. In the other, you haven't reached out in days, not from anger, but because your mind is full of vision, of purpose, of the work you were born to do. In the first, she forgets to reply. In the second, she starts to wonder, starts to lean in, starts to crave. That is the power of self-respect. A man who honors his time, who guards his energy, who values his own path, doesn't just attract women. He attracts respect. His attention becomes a gift, not a request, and that is why he doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He doesn't orbit. He builds, he creates, he lives, and women chase him because he is already full. The deeper truth, the man who can control his emotions under pressure becomes unforgettable. There will come a moment when she tests your center. Maybe she teases your beliefs. Maybe she flirts with distance. Maybe she goes silent just to see how you'll fill the void. And in that moment, she isn't looking for charm. She's looking for composure. Most men flinch. They defend. They explain. They rush to fix the moment. But every rush screams instability, and instability is danger to the feminine heart. A woman doesn't feel safe in the arms of a man who breaks under pressure. She doesn't crave a man who can't breathe when tension rises. She craves the man who can sit in silence and not panic, who can feel the sting of a test and smile anyway, who can breathe deeply, speak slowly, and show through his presence, "I am not moved." That is emotional control. It's not about coldness. It's about being so anchored in your values that nothing outside of you dictates your frame. It's about leading not through volume, but through stillness. Try it. Next time she teases you in front of others, don't bite back. Don't scramble. Pause. Smile. Say, "I hear you." In that moment, you show more strength than an hour of defensiveness ever could. Because real power is quiet. It's in your eyes that don't dart away. It's in your breath that doesn't rush. It's in your silence that doesn't beg. Women are wired to respond to this. Psychology confirms it. Emotional reliability is one of the strongest triggers of long-term attraction. When you show you won't shatter under pressure, you give her something rare. You give her safety, and safety is the doorway to both trust and desire. Stillness, then, is power. The world tells men that dominance is noise, louder, harder, faster, but the new dominance is stillness. Stillness is rebellion in a world of noise. Stillness is leadership without shouting. Stillness is calm eye contact that makes her heartbeat trip. Stillness is the pause before words that forces her to lean in. You don't need to fill space with clever lines. You don't need to flex. You need to breathe, slow down, and let your stillness pull her closer. Women don't crave the man who needs to be heard. They crave the man whose silence says more than words ever could. And here is the secret most men avoid. Your true power is in walking away. Not from bitterness, not from anger, but from standards. The man who can walk away calmly without flinching becomes unforgettable. Because walking away shows emotional independence. You're not here to beg for crumbs. You're not here to be tolerated. You're here for connection. And if it's not mutual, you'll leave. That strength leaves a mark on her memory long after you're gone. Scarcity works here too. When you show you're not afraid to lose her, you become irreplaceable because most men cling, most men settle, most men accept disrespect for a chance at attention. But the man who calmly chooses his dignity over her validation, that man flips the script. That man becomes the standard, and here's where the deepest attraction lies, in listening, not to fix, not to impress, not to take your turn, to truly listen. Most men don't. They wait for silence to insert their opinion. They interrupt, they steer, and she retreats. But when you give her space to be seen, when you listen without ego, you become magnetic. Because women don't crave constant compliments or clever lines. They crave the man who hears them, who can hold their truth without judgment, who can sit in silence without filling it. That space is safety, and that safety is love. Quiet confidence, then, beats loud charisma every time. The loudest man in the room gets attention, but it's the quiet, grounded one she remembers. It's the man who spoke less but meant every word. It's the man who didn't dominate the room but stabilized it. That is magnetism, not noise, not performance, stability. A calm man doesn't need to prove himself. He doesn't shout to be seen. He doesn't flex to be admired. He speaks when needed, and when he does, the room listens. That is quiet confidence, and that is unforgettable, because attraction isn't built on how loud you are. It's built on how she feels when she's with you. She won't remember your clever line. She won't remember the joke you rehearsed. She will remember the calm in your eyes, the steadiness in your voice, the space you gave her to be real. She will remember how her body softened when your silence held her. She will remember how your presence slowed her down. And that is where real attraction begins. If this spoke to you, subscribe for more, because here's the truth. Stillness seduces, noise repels. In a world full of men chasing, proving, performing, be the man who doesn't flinch. Be the man who doesn't beg. Be the man who doesn't need to prove anything because he already is. Women don't remember the loudest man. They remember the calmest one. They remember the one who gave them safety without smothering. They remember the man whose presence made them lean in without knowing why. That man can walk away and still be followed. That man doesn't chase love, he becomes love. And when you become love, you never have to run again.